The United States is taking an unprecedented step to cut back on greenhouse gas emissions. The Environmental Protection Agency has proposed rules targeted at American power plants, the largest emitters of pollution. CCTV's Jessica Stone joins us from the White House with the details. Jessica.
And Elaine, you may recall back in 2009, at the beginning of this presidency, U.S. President Barack Obama pledged to cut global greenhouse gas emissions in the United States by 17% over 2005 levels, and to do that by 2020. Well, he's had a tough time making good on that promise. He's tried legislation. He couldn't get that through. This is his way of getting it through executive action. It is an EPA draft rule. It is targeted at carbon emission reduction of power plants specifically. We're talking about specifically coal power plants will probably bear the brunt of this. It targets the reason that this target is against power plants is that they make up about 1/3 of carbon emissions. As I said, most of the problem is coal-fired power plants. They make up about 40% of the nation's power generation. They generate about twice as much carbon pollution as natural gas power plants. And all of these power plants, both natural gas and coal, will now be under a new regulation by the Environmental Protection Agency. They will now have to cut their carbon emissions by 17% over 2005 levels by 2030.
Although we limit pollutants like mercury, arsenic, sulfur, currently there are no limits on carbon pollution from power plants, our nation's largest sources. For the sake of our family's health and for our kids' future, we have a moral obligation to act on climate.
Meantime, plenty of critics of this plan. For example, Mike Duncan of the American Coalition for Clean Coal Electricity said, quote, "If these rules are allowed to go into effect, the administration, for all intents and purposes, is creating America's next energy crisis." A lot of the challenges, Elaine, are around the cost of complying with this proposal. The EPA itself estimates as much as $8 billion a year in compliance costs, again, per year, up to 2030. That's the maximum they're estimating. So a lot of money at stake here. Even with the American hydraulic fracturing boom and all of that natural gas, this is most likely to fall on states that use more coal than natural gas. Think about the southeastern United States, the American Midwest. They will have a tougher time complying, but there still is a 120-day public comment period before this rule goes into effect. Elaine?
All right, CCTV's Jessica Stone live at the White House.